Have you ever stood in front of a picture of the Great Pyramid of Giza and just wondered, how? How did an ancient civilization, without modern machinery, build something so massive, so precise, that it has stood for over 4,500 years? For centuries, this question has sparked theories ranging from lost technologies to extraterrestrial help. But the truth, as supported by decades of archaeological research, is even more impressive. It's a story of human ingenuity, incredible organization, and sheer determination. So let's put aside the myths and dive into the most plausible and fascinating explanations for how the ancient Egyptians engineered these wonders of the world. First things first, who actually built the pyramids? Forget the old Hollywood movies depicting legions of slaves being whipped into submission. The evidence overwhelmingly points to a highly organized and skilled workforce of native Egyptians. We're talking about tens of thousands of people: stonemasons, engineers, toolmakers, and haulers. Archaeologists have uncovered entire villages near the pyramids, complete with bakeries, breweries, and medical facilities. These weren't prisons. They were communities for the workers. They were paid, often in the form of food, beer, and other provisions, and many took great pride in their work, leaving behind graffiti that reads, "The Drunkards of Menkaure," or "The Friends of Khufu Gang." Many were farmers who worked on the pyramids during the annual flooding of the Nile, when their fields were underwater and agricultural work was impossible. This was a national project, a testament to the power and divinity of their pharaoh and a source of collective purpose. The entire operation was a masterclass in logistics. Imagine planning a project that would take decades and involve moving millions of stone blocks, some weighing as much as an elephant. This required meticulous coordination, from quarrying the stone to delivering it to the construction site, and finally lifting it into place. It was a project management feat on a scale that's hard to comprehend even today. So where did all this stone come from? The bulk of the pyramids, the core structure, was made from limestone blocks quarried right there on the Giza Plateau. This was practical and efficient. Workers used copper chisels and wooden mallets to carve out these massive blocks. For harder stones, like granite, which was used for the burial chambers and sarcophagi, they had to be more creative. They would pound the granite with dolerite balls, a rock that's even harder. They also used a brilliant technique where they drill holes into the rock, insert wooden wedges, and then soak the wedges with water. As the wood expanded, it would crack the stone along the desired line. It was slow, grueling work, but incredibly effective. But the most beautiful stone was reserved for the outside. The pyramids we see today are the rough, stepped core. Originally, they were covered in a smooth, polished casing of fine white limestone from a quarry at Tura, across the Nile. This casing would have gleamed in the desert sun, making the pyramids look like brilliant jewels. Imagine that sight. Sadly, most of this casing was stripped away over the centuries to build other structures in nearby Cairo. Now for the really big question: how did they move these colossal blocks? Some of the granite blocks from Aswan, hundreds of miles to the south, weighed over 50 tons. The answer lies in the lifeblood of Egypt, the Nile River. The Egyptians were master sailors. They loaded these massive stones onto huge wooden barges and floated them down the river. Recent discoveries have even shown that they dug a network of canals and basins that brought the water right up to the base of the Giza Plateau, creating an inland port just for the pyramid construction. It was a water highway for building materials. Once the blocks were on land, the challenge was moving them across the sand. Wheeled carts weren't really up to the task for such heavy loads on uneven terrain. Instead, they used large wooden sleds. A famous wall painting from the tomb of Jehutihotep shows us exactly how they did it. It depicts a colossal statue being pulled on a sled by teams of workers. Crucially, one person is standing at the front of the sled, pouring water onto the sand. This might seem simple, but it's a stroke of genius. Scientific experiments have confirmed that wetting the sand in front of the sled reduces friction by about half, making it vastly easier to pull the heavy load. Simple physics, expertly applied. This brings us to the most debated part of the entire process. How did they lift millions of blocks, some weighing several tons, to heights of over 400 feet? While we don't have a definitive blueprint, the most widely accepted theory involves a system of ramps. But what kind of ramp? A single, massive, straight ramp running from the ground up would have been a colossal structure in itself, potentially containing as much material as the pyramid. It's possible, but logistically daunting. A more likely scenario is a series of ramps that zigzagged up one face of the pyramid, or a spiral ramp that corkscrewed around the outside as the structure grew taller. This would have required less material and could be adjusted as construction progressed. Evidence for ramps is strong. In 2018, archaeologists discovered a 4,500-year-old ramp system at a quarry in Hatnub. It was much steeper than previously thought possible, with stairways on either side and post holes, suggesting they used a system of ropes and pulleys to haul the blocks up the incline. This discovery proves the Egyptians had the technology and know-how to move heavy stones up steep slopes. An even more intriguing idea is the internal ramp theory, proposed by architect Jean-Pierre Houdin. He suggests that an external ramp was used for the bottom third of the pyramid, but for the upper portions, they built a corkscrewing ramp inside the pyramid itself, just behind the outer walls. This internal tunnel would have allowed them to haul blocks up from within the structure. It is a compelling theory that elegantly solves the problem of a massive external ramp and could explain some of the strange anomalies found during scans of the Great Pyramid. Once the blocks were at the correct level, the final placement required immense precision. The Egyptians likely used a system of wooden levers and rockers to nudge these multi-ton blocks into their final resting place, with tolerances so fine that you can't fit a piece of paper between them. So, when we look at the pyramids, we're not looking at the work of aliens or a lost super technology. We are looking at the result of generations of learning, passed down through families of builders. It's a monument to human collaboration, meticulous planning, and a deep understanding of physics and engineering, all achieved with simple tools and an abundance of cleverness and hard work. The pyramids are a timeless reminder that with a clear vision and collective effort, humans can achieve the seemingly impossible. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into history. Let me know in the comments which ancient mystery you'd like us to explore next.